I get this elbow in my side, and Mark goes, "Yeah, Bill, I sell Porsches," and puts his hand out and grabs Bill's hand. He says, "Why don't you come on over here and have a seat?" So in 1989, before I went to work for Mercedes, I worked for Jaguar, Porsche, Audi in Bellevue. Bellevue was the hub of Microsoft and every other high-tech company that was coming into the United States at that point in time. Nintendo was not too far away from us. Lots of different high-tech businesses. Every once in a while, you'd see somebody come in that is, you kind of know that guy, that type of thing. But one day, early in the morning, Mark, other salesman, and myself were standing on the showroom floor, and somebody comes out from services and says, "Hey, Bill Gates. Bill Gates, he's in the back picking up his car." Well, Bill was driving a 86 Jaguar XJ6 Van and Pla, champagne gold. He picks up his car, and he drives around from the back where service was, comes around front, and we're watching him. Mark and I are just standing on the showroom floor having coffee. It's probably 8:30 in the morning. And all of a sudden he pulls right in front of the dealership, and he gets out of his car, comes through the big door, and Mark and I are looking at him, and he says, "Hi, do you guys sell Porsches?" And all of a sudden, boom, right in my side. Now I was up. It was my turn to take the first up. You're up from 8:30 till 10, and then you go on the rotation schedule. I get this elbow in my side, and Mark goes, "Yeah, Bill, I sell Porsches," and puts his hand out and grabs Bill's hand. He says, "Why don't you come on over here and have a seat?" And Bill says, "No," he says, "Here's my business card. I want a black 911 convertible. I want this and this and this and this and this. My card's here. My assistant's name's down at the bottom. Just give her a call. Let me know what the price is and when you can get it. Thanks so much." He says, "Sure, Bill, no problem." And turns around and walks away. And I just sat there and stared at Mark, and Mark just kind of looked down at his desk, and that was it. He caught me. And he was really famous for driving a Lexus around there. Later on, I will tell you that when I was at Mercedes-Benz, his representative came to us, and he wanted a Mercedes station wagon, but he wanted it bulletproofed for his kids. So we contacted Mercedes-Benz, and they said, "Hey, we've got this high-profile client. His name's Bill Gates, and he wants this car." And they said, "Well, we'll get back to you." 4 or 5 days goes by. Mercedes calls us and says, "Yeah, we're not going to do that. The liability is just too much. If something should happen and those kids, something would happen to them, and we told Bill that we made a car that was, bullet resistant or something like that, or couldn't be damaged, we just don't want to get there. We don't want to have anything to do with that car." So on the lot, we had Mercedes-Benz, and right across the opposite lot was Volvo. So they went over to Volvo, and they got themselves a Volvo 240 DL station wagon that Volvo made bulletproof. It was in the shop every month because the driver's window was so heavy, the motor would fail on it, and they couldn't get the window up. So they kept having to replace the window motor, not thinking, well, why don't we put in a bigger motor? They just would order the same motor over and over and over. But anyway, they just wanted to maintain a low profile. Bill wanted his Lexus, and he wanted the kids to be, the nanny to have the Volvo, nothing special. They don't want to be out there being recognized. And the Porsche that Bill Gates was most well known for, of course, was the 959, one of the very first ones. Bill had brought the Porsche in to the Jaguar Porsche dealership when he first got it. And that's when I first saw the car out on the lift out in the shop. And because by the time I got there, they'd already dropped it off really early in the morning. Tech was working on it, and it was just getting it oil changed and check all the fluids, everything else, and like that. And I didn't see the car again until later when I was at the Mercedes dealership. And on the back side of the Mercedes dealership across the street was Jimmy's Porsche dealership. And they had it in regularly there about once a year for routine maintenance. Don't know how often he drove it or where he drove it. I'm sure somebody drove it once in a while because they said it would have miles on it. But it was always brought in by somebody, never Bill. He never came out there. But then you'd hear about him having tacos at the little taco shop down the street with his wife and kids, but he would never come to the dealerships anymore. He just avoided them for some reason. I don't know. It's kind of like you go to these meetings and you'd go down and you'd talk to the guys from Beverly Hill, Mark down there, and you say, "Hey, Mark, who came in?" And he'd go, "No, you tell me who came in. I want to know who came in at your store because you have the different type of celebrities. We just have these other celebrities." The other thing was at Beverly Hills, I don't know if anybody knew that, but the Playboy Club was on the top floor of the Beverly Hills Mercedes dealership. And they're in between the showroom in the north and showroom in the south at Beverly Hills, whereas the stairway where all the Playboy bunnies would go up to that. So I would think, "Oh, you've got it made." And he said, "No, you've got it made. You don't have to deal with all the egos that I have to deal with." So Seattle was the guys would come into work in the high-tech industry, black t-shirts, blue jeans, tennis shoes, some kind of coat and stuff like that. And they may be worth millions of dollars or sold their companies for millions and millions of dollars, but they all wore the same thing. And to show you, when I was at the Bellevue Jaguar Porsche dealership, there was a guy that worked across the street from us that worked for the Washington State Lottery. He would come over all the time, white t-shirt, BVD t-shirt, Levi jeans, scruffy tennis shoes, and a nylon shell jacket all the time. Same thing. Oh, and long hair all the way down the middle of his back. And he was a nice guy and everything. And he got together with Mark, the guy who stole my Porsche dealer, by the way, from Bill Gates. And they made friends. And I could tell Mark, why are you screwing around with this guy? He's not going to buy a car. He keeps telling you he's going to buy a car. He's going to buy a car. And Mark says, "Well, I like the guy. I like him a lot." And I said, "Okay, great." So a year goes by and he comes in and he says, "Hey, I got a job. I got a job at Microsoft." And I said, "Oh, that's great. Fantastic." And he says, "But so I won't be coming across the street so often and bothering you guys." And that's even better. So he goes away and he comes back about a year later. He's come in a couple of times, goes to salesman Mark, and he says, "Hey, Mark, I'm ready to order a Porsche 944. I'm going to order one." And he says, "Oh, wow. Okay." So they sit down and they order the car. And the car comes in and he drives it for a while and he comes back, and a few months later, 6 to 8 months later, he says, "Hey, I really like this one, but I think I want to get the next one up." I think it was a 944S or something like that. "Okay, well, all right." He says, "Okay." So we order him that car. Well, over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, this guy, all of a sudden, his jeans became designer jeans. The BVD t-shirt became a white silk t-shirt. The jacket became a designer blue nylon, whatever, silk jacket. The watch became a Timex, became a Rolex. Hair was still long. And his orders increased all the way up to the 911 Turbo. And eventually he and his future wife became president and vice president of the local Porsche Northwest club as well too. And after I moved to Mercedes-Benz, I lost track of them from that point in time.
I'm super pumped to announce that in 2024, VINwiki is partnering with Bridgestone. So throughout the year, you're going to hear some great stories from their business, some awesome tire testing and things like that we're going to do. I've had a lot of Bridgestone and Firestone products over the years and loved them all. I know that you will too, but I want you to check out their Potenza line of tires for sports cars, supercars, and hypercars. Whatever your needs, whether it's ultimate track performance, road performance, or all-season performance, there is a Potenza tire for you. So check them out at the link in the description below and let us know what you think.